Hello, everyone. It's Jerry at the Fledge, and welcome to another episode of Every Damn Day. I'm sitting in the corner of a hotel room right now in Los Angeles, so still out here, coming back tomorrow night, and got my Bigger Brain, Better World t-shirt on from the Fledge Foundation, which is a nod to the power of diversity, which is the result of inclusion. So thank you, Dustin, for designing this and all of that. Also want to give a shout out to thisent.com and Joe Walker, doing great things with write-up of positive stories in the community, including some episodes of Every Damn Day. And, you know, I've been asking my guests recently who they'd like to give a shout out to. And my guest today said that they would like to give a shout out to Ron DeLeon for one, recommending him to come on the show and all of that, but also Ron's got a tennis tournament coming up on August 14th. So check that out and get a team together. I think it's doubles, maybe it's singles too, but get together and support that cause. So let's get to my guest. I'm going to bring Sein on. How you doing, Sein?
Doing good, Jerry. So
what you been up to today?
Sleep.
Yeah.
So I work overnight for the post office, and I took a month off. I spent a month working with Leap, and last night was my first night, and they spent 2 weeks of going 40 hours, no overtime, and I show up, and everybody in the building got 12 hours. So they thought it was coincidence or whatever, but yeah.
Well, I'm sorry if I'm screwing up your sleep time too, but thank you for coming on during that. What were you doing with Leap? Were you helping them with the Sunrise?
Yes.
Yeah. So you help.
Second year was trying to identify specifically Hispanic Latino businesses and organizations.
Yeah. I think it's awesome what you do. I've seen your name pop up in the One and All program quite a bit. And I told you earlier, you know, people have come on the show because of you. People have pitched at 99 Problems, but a pitch ain't one because of you. And I really appreciate your support of the entrepreneurial ecosystem, and especially in the Hispanic communities. So thank you for everything you do.
You're welcome.
Let's get into you a little bit. Where were you born and raised, and kind of what brought you to what you do?
I was born and raised in Lansing. I have to admit, it took me probably 20 plus years to make it north of St. John's. So we just didn't travel a whole lot. My parents were heavily involved in the community, still are. But born and raised in Lansing, Everett High School grad, 1983. Me and Ron DeLeon were both at Hill before they closed. So he ended up going to Sexton. I ended up at Everett. So we still stayed friends over the years.
Yeah. Where'd you grow up over there?
Southside of Lansing. In fact, I grew up right next door to the old ShopRite on MLK and Jolly. So right, and I think they had a little drugstore there. So I used to go over, save my money, and buy all these baseball magnets. I'm a pretty big baseball fan. So.
I think that Solden's just moved into that ShopRite, right?
Yes.
So yeah, I grew up on Hague Road, so in the Big T there, and I went to Everett in '81. I was supposed to go to Hill too, and then I transferred to Eastern later on. So we must have been running around together back then.
Probably so. Yeah, I always seen your name in the paper, so I knew you existed. Trust me. I think we all did.
I don't. Do you know like Billy Lopez and Robert Lopez and David Gomez and those guys? That's who I ran around with.
Oh my God.
Back then. So did you go to? Oh, you probably didn't go to Atwood. You probably went to Rio, huh?
I went to Rio, then to Gardner, and then to Everett.
Yeah. So we were at Gardner together for sure.
Yes. It's funny because I remember I remember your face. I remember you were, yeah, because you're 2 years older. You're class of
Oh,
81?
I was a
No,
class
you were
of 84.
84. So you were
Yeah.
right behind me.
Yep. Right behind
Okay,
you.
so you would have been in my ninth grade yearbook. Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think you let me sign it though. I
Okay.
probably would have said "be cool" or something like
Right.
that.
Right.
um, so, did you play any sports or do anything like that? Any extracurricular stuff? Were you an actor or dancer
No,
or anything?
no, and and it's funny. I played tennis with Ron at Hill for a brief moment. That was it. I started off with cross country and then switched to tennis. One of his best friends asked me about if I had ever seen a glass tennis racket. Me trying to be cool. Yeah, I think I've seen one. Before. That was kind of the end of my tennis days. I knew I wasn't going to survive, so these guys knew what they were doing. So, but no, I didn't participate in anything. I really
Yeah,
didn't.
yeah.
So,
So that was, I don't know, I don't want to, well, we're already aged. So that was 150 years ago that we were in school together and all of that. What, because now you're involved in a lot of things, I think. I mean, I see your name everywhere.
yeah.
What kind of brought you from, graduating from Everett and where you're at now?
And I've always said it. I'm an introvert. I don't like attention. I always like using the 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 visual of. I'd rather stay in the balcony. If I had my choice, I'd stay in the balcony, watch everything. But I also, when I was younger, I'll never forget this. Probably one of the earliest lessons I can recall was trying to. I was trying out for a little league baseball team. I was 8 years old. I, kind of hard to see the ball if you don't keep your eyes open. I was not that good of a player. My dad gave me this lesson, and he's trying to encourage me, and he's like, "You can still make the team better. If you can make the team better around you, you're encouraging them. Shout out, call out how many outs, whatever, when you're on the field." Little I realized, I never understood that lesson back then. I mean, I did it, but it would come back later, and I definitely live by it. You try to make those around you better. So to answer your question, if I see a need, I'm not one of those people to turn and look the other way.
Mhm.
I just rather if I have to step in. Side note, I'm a know-it-all too. I can take a look at something and think there's got to be a better way. Got to be a better way. So a combination of those two things, I try to
Yeah.
figure out. I do a lot of reading, research, but I like this. I don't mind stepping in. I just don't like being in front. But a lot of times, as well as I do, people don't take that initiative.
Yeah. Well, that's a huge leadership skill that so many people don't. People want to be in the front. They want the attention. They want the credit and all of that. And that doesn't get the job done. What gets the job done is exactly what you're saying, empowering more and more and more people, not even empowering, but enabling them
Right.
to take the lead and get this done. And I think that a credit to you is just immediately when we went live, we've got, you do so much for Lansing. One of the best people I know. Of course, Ron says he wants to be you when he grows up, but and then just I'll say Adriana, go Vikings too. So, and I'll agree because I used to be a Viking as well. So why all these people on the right here, and plus, Leap hiring you and all of that. What do you do with the community tell us about your community work?
So, I've been blessed. I'll tell you. I went from as a 17-year-old at Cristo Rey Church. Our youth directors dropped out. They resigned. I kept bugging our pastor there, our priest there. We need somebody. We need somebody. Finally, I caught him in a good moment right before he was trying to get to the airport to go to Spain for 3 months, saying, "You're it." So at 17 years old, I got a chance to take over a youth program at the church. I had a lot of fun with that. But if you can imagine that, one, I'm a kid, taking over. So I got to learn that generation. My parents were heavily involved, so they got to know me since I was a little kid, so I knew that generation. As the time went on, I met so many. In fact, Adriana was a student that I had at Latino Club at Everett High School. I used to run the Latino clubs, so I got to meet people that I knew their parents. I kept meeting different generations, and so for me, what I do, I just try to find resources and stuff. One and all. This, in fact, I hit up Adriana and told her you need to go on this show before we. Back about an hour ago, I was telling her, gave her the link, but it's finding resources because there's so much out there. I mean, the old expression, think outside the box. I mean, forget the box. I mean, anything's possible.
Yeah. So that's when Cristo Rey was the smaller church on Washington, probably.
Yeah.
And I know that so well because every year Cristo Rey had a big like festival or something. I couldn't remember, but it was every summer, and I must have eaten 17,000 soft shell tacos at that thing. That was one of my favorite events every year.
Yeah. I think since August '78, I think was the first Cristo Rey Fiesta, and I got to run a Coke wagon because my parents bailed out on me. They were in charge and they wanted to dance, so I got left with it. And the following year, they put me and the kids in charge. So they've been doing it ever till this day. They take care of the drinks and whatever, the youth program. But it's been a nice journey.
So tell us about, you've got an event coming up with your organization that I'm scared to try to pronounce. You want me to try?
Yeah, no, I can do it. Well, well, it's funny because, if there's one believe me, I get credit for things things that I don't even do. And it just amazes me. Now I'm starting, I think maybe, I'll put on I always like to call it, I'll put on my arrogant hat. I'll try to, I get blamed for, Tacos and Tequila Festival came out and I had nothing to do with that. And I got blamed, for different things that happened there. They ran out of lime. They ran out of ice. I had a couple people, the sound system for the Tejano band didn't go too well. And a couple people said, Sein, you can't take care of that. And I'm like, I have nothing to do with this stuff. So I have a partnership with the Lugnuts and, that I work with Tyler Parsons over there. But, a lot of the things, we used to have this festival back in front of the stadium. And I think to try to recreate that little by little, but I want something that lasts. Tomorrow, obviously that cliche, tomorrow's never promised. I want something that's going to keep going. I mean, whether my name is remembered, I don't care, but something for the community. So we have Latino Night with the Lugnuts. It came from an idea. I do a lot of research. I read a newspaper. You're not supposed to read people's mail, but I read a newspaper at the post office I seen from Toledo, Ohio, called up the guy, explained it to me down in Toledo, Ohio, Rico. And I kept pitching the idea. I mean, if one quick thought, I've shared so many ideas. I never intended to be in front. I never intended to have something called Cafecito, Caliente. Never intended to do. I tried to give away the ideas and nobody wanted them. I think the classic one was I tried to put Latino Night with the Lugnuts to a nonprofit organization. I guess I'll say it because it'll make more sense. That deals with the Lansing for Cesar Chavez organization. I tried to pitch the idea and they told me Cesar Chavez had absolutely nothing to do with baseball. And what the heck's that got to do with it? It has nothing to do with it. We're creating a platform. We'll get 300-400 people there. Chances are 399 of them are not part of your organization. So you've got a chance. You got a chance to meet them Wednesday, call up. Hey, I ran into you. Great running into you at the game. We want to join our organization. We have a meeting. And people didn't. In fact, they still don't get it. It's building a platform so that people can engage. So that's what I like doing. And that's kind of what Latino Night with the Lugnuts is about. So trying to build it out, if there's one criticism, that I take forever on some things. So it's funny because I get thought of as somebody who can execute and get things done. Like you said, get blank done. So I wanted to create this day. So we now have a 5K run in the morning. It's based on a popular game, Mexican bingo or Loteria. Loteria 5K is in the morning. You can dress up. It's like a theme run. You can dress up like the characters or whatever on these little bingo cards. At 4 o'clock, we have vendors in front of the stadium selling different things or whatever. I think we're going to have Corner Frutas that's going to sell these Mexican desserts. We have some clothing stores, Giselle's and Touch of Frida. 5 o'clock, we bring in our band from Ohio. That being said, we go into the game, and Grupo Deseo is our band. So I got to give a shout out for those guys coming up from Toledo. Then 7 o'clock is the game, and all that is just having fun, family fun. But next year, the final last part, or I shouldn't say the final, we're going to add what could be kind of a farmer's flea market that bridges both sides. I haven't told Tyler that. I guess I probably should let him know. But we're going to take the entire day from 8 o'clock until 11 o'clock at night. You know,
I think that's super. That's super cool that you're doing that. I was watching the video where you were outside of the stadium. I think someone asked you what you were going to dress up as. Have you decided yet, or is that a big secret for?
No, I don't. I'm sorry, I don't get into these things. I would rather just stay in the back and watch. I don't like attention. You know, a good friend of mine, Jimmy Villarreal. Jimmy put together the flyer for us, and he had my picture on there, and I'm like, "This looks great, Jimmy. Great work. Thank you. Appreciate it. Can you take my face off?" He's like, "Yeah, but you do so much." No, I just no. He goes, "Well, they should know who you are." No, Jimmy, sorry, that's not me. Sorry, you know, put somebody else. But yeah, yeah.
So let me show you another quick thing. Carlos here said, Zane is an awesome individual with a great heart and always doing great things for the Lansing community. What motivates you? Why, if it's not fortune and fame, which it usually isn't, what is your motivation here? Yeah.
I'll give you kind of a two-part answer. One, you know, going back to that lesson from my dad, my mom's my biggest fan. I think I'm her favorite between my brother and my sister, but it's do the right thing. You know, I'll share this, you know, and not trying to, you know, pat myself on the back. So I'll put my arrogant hat on, right? So okay. I worked with LEAP. So I took 4 weeks of my vacation time. So I used that. So I also lost out on a lot of overtime that we've been working. So I lost that. I could have applied for the grant myself. And yes, we would have qualified. I would have gotten 10 grand to use. I thought about that, but I also thought of all the businesses that were hurting. And I knew so many of them. And I always think back, it's the right thing to do. That's my parents. They help out in the community. Things that people don't even see. My son, one of my boys, asked me, "Why did you do that?" Because he works with me at the post office, so he knows the money I lost. I mean, I worked for a post office 34 years. I mean, I make decent money, but so there's that. I mean, I wanted to do it to help out the business. I was in people's houses till 2:30 in the morning, especially if they don't know the English language too well, and I don't know the Spanish language. So boy, we had fun, but the flip side of that, I guess, is, I got to admit, I love marketing. I love advertising. I'm fascinated with creating things. I'm not a creative individual. Was it Steve Jobs that said, or somebody said it, good artists copy, great artists steal. Yeah. I'm usually out there reading and taking ideas. If I could share with you one idea that's coming out this weekend or next weekend is I've got these little medals. I never could position these things.
Yeah, it's all backwards, isn't it?
Yeah. So, I can't back up a trailer either, but here's these little medals. So, there's one Latino night with the lug nuts. These are the two that I'm in love with. Wait, that's not the one. Anyway, these are uniforms. And what it is, it plays on nostalgia. So,
oh, yeah.
So one's the Lansing Cardinals, which was pretty much the first organized Latin baseball team in Lansing. And then there was, oh, I know how to do this. There's the Cardinals. I'm sorry, I just had the wrong hand. And these are the Aztecas. They were mostly a lot of kids, nephews, nephews of the Cardinal players. They rode the bench. There was no room. They created their own team. So we're going to bring those out. Profits go to charity. And it's just playing on nostalgia, but I get excited about that stuff when I can kind of create something. Wow, I did that. So in that sense, yeah, I feel good about what I do, but I don't like the attention. I will say this. I mean, these I knew, and here's what I love. So going back, what motivates me? I knew the reaction I would get, especially from the families that either played for those teams or their parents or grandparents played for those teams. And that's enough. Oh my gosh, that's all I need. I mean, I don't need you to buy a ticket, a shirt. We create event shirts too every year, which is a whole nother story. I like to have shirts that people are going to wear year round. Nobody needs another shirt to paint with or cut the grass with. So I make sure our designs, are wearable, I guess, year round. But yeah, that's what drives me. I love to see that smile. Oh, that's enough for me.
I'm going to have to come get a shirt because I'm running out of shirts. Because I always wear a local shirt during my show, so I'm going to come get one on August 14th.
We'll send you one. Somehow we'll get you there. Yeah, we'll get you one.
I want to support though, because I'm sure that's part of your revenue model as well, right? So you can keep doing this. Yeah. So I recently, I'm an introvert, but I look like an extrovert to a lot of people. And I've learned about this introvert extrovert thing that these introverts, I'm going to say like you and I, have the capability sometimes to present themselves as an extrovert because you have to do it in a social gathering or whatever. And then you go home and you're just exhausted. I mean, it just drains you. Is this show doing that to you, or do you get like that?
Yeah, it's mentally, even emotionally. It's just that part, in terms of I know what it does. So I knew the families, and sure enough, I got a couple messages from family members. These cool little medals and whatever. I knew the effect it would have, and I'm excited, and at the same time, it's an emotional high. I think it makes me feel like I did something in a way, even just to touch on them or inspire them. I love trying to inspire people. I wish I probably could inspire more, but it at the end of the day, wow. I mean, I finally, you know what I do every day, and I won't be able to do it this year, no, maybe I can do it. To relax heading into the game, it's usually on Sundays. So Saturday night, I go to a Lugnuts game by myself or just kind of sit there. One year, the guy in front of me, he had one of my old shirts on, one of our old shirts on. But to relax that, if I didn't have that, I don't know where I'd be. Everything's just, I can so relate.
I want to throw up a couple more comments. Adriana thinks that those medals are super cute, or they're so cute. And Natalia, sorry. I can't see, by the way. I have to put my glasses on to read these comments sometimes. But she loves those. And then Daniel just giving another shout out to you about the One and All program. And thank you, Connie. And I should also say hello to Carlos. They're talking to me in the comments. I thought you were. So how can people learn about the event on August 14th?
So two ways. We have Cafecito. There's an event page, but it comes out of the Cafecito Caliente website or Facebook page. I'm sorry. So on Facebook, you can go to look up Cafecito Caliente. We also have a website, going back to when I was younger, again, that I tried to throw out ideas. I probably should have said this earlier. I talked about 40. I used to have about 40 ideas that I thought would build community. I think we were only through about 6 or 7 of them, so I got a long ways to go. But we have a website. All the links are there. I have a Latino-owned business directory. Who knew there was 35 Mexican restaurants, Mexican and Cuban restaurants in the area? So it's on the website as well. Tickets, I sell tickets. I buy tickets from the Lugnuts at a discount, and they're on sale for $11. Shirts, we sell those. I think those are $15. You can buy them combined. I'll be at Sir Pizza Friday afternoon and Saturday afternoon from 4 to 7 this weekend, and probably next weekend as well. So, but look up Cafecito Caliente, you'll find me.
All right, and Adriana helped me spell it because I was trying to type it from what I wrote in my notes. I had it right, but she got it. So thank you. So if you look this up on Facebook or even just Google it, we should be able to find your website and all of that, right? Yeah. And there's still tickets available?
Yes. Yeah, okay. In fact, we haven't put them on sale yet. Shirts, medals, and T-shirts are on sale beginning Friday.
Okay. Then I'll make next Friday?
No.
Today?
We sell them in advance. I think differently. The shirts to me should promote the event, so I put them out early.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, Friday's tomorrow. Today's Thursday. I'm all backwards still. So did we forget to talk about anything? Is there anything else in your project side that you want to surprise us with?
Well, I'm a big believer in building networks, and that kind of goes along with mentorship. So yeah, let's throw something out real quick because I think it's critical. And I know this happens in the Latino community. I've been part of Saginaw's community for a little while. I spent some time up there, but one thing that always happens when I was a little kid or teen, we always looked at the church and the community, and we always seen the same people in charge, and it never failed. And it's like, when are those guys going to get out of the way? But out of respect to them, they stayed, and I now kind of see myself now on that side. Mm-hmm. The biggest thing to me is that when we were younger, we felt that people weren't willing to mentor us or pass the baton. But not in that order. I think when we were younger, we just thought they should have just passed the baton to us and let us take over. I see it now. I mean, we have to be willing to be coached, to be mentored. Mentorship, it's just huge. Adriana's classic because she hit me up on Facebook. And again, she's like a former student of mine, I suppose, through the Latino clubs. She asked me about putting together a networking night. Well, I already run one. I do them 4 times a year. We have another one in October. It's kind of I promote myself, I guess. I hate using that word, but you want to get to know the Latino community. I better be one of those 5 people you have at the table. So I run a networking night. She hits me up. Hey, Sein, I want to start a networking night. I think the first thing I told her was, oh, wow, you're going to compete against me? No, just kidding. And so she asked me a couple questions or whatever. I told her anything you need. So hopefully, I'm proud of her. I'm happy. I was excited that she reached out and felt comfortable enough. I'll share. I mean, there's room enough at the table for we need everybody on board. All hands on deck.
Yeah, I think sometimes people get trapped in a scarcity mentality, and it's like the pie is too small. I want my pie, and there isn't a pie. Just like you said, there's no box. There's no pie either. There's abundance.
We're fighting for this little piece of, but dirt or grass in the community. And it's like, join me. Oh my gosh. I'm willing to help anybody. I can say it till I'm blue. Well, I'm brown, but I can say it. I've offered so many people and said, hey, sit down, have a cup of coffee with me. And rarely do they ever. I mean, I'm not trying to say I'm all that. I mean, I'm not. I'm just a simple guy, but I think sometimes I have some ideas that may work for you, and maybe I don't. And if we don't, then at least we have a better relationship because of it. And to me, that's critical. That's important to me.
Yeah, I like what you said. If you want to have the Latino community involved, you better be one of the people at the table, because I think sometimes people they skip that step, right? and they don't go to the leaders of the community, which then can cause division. It can cause us to fracture and all of that. So I'm going to say on air right now, when can you and I have a cup of coffee? Because I want to be more involved. I basically grew up, on the South Side there with almost all of my friends were Black and brown people. So a lot of basically the Mexican community on the South Side and the North Side when I went to Eastern. And I can't even tell you how many quinceañeras I had to go to. But they were always a blast, it was always fun to do that. And I feel disconnected sometimes. Sometimes Robert Lopez will comment on the show, and I still talk to him and his family quite a bit, but I still feel a bit disconnected from the community.
Me and Robert were bat boys for our dad's teams.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask about softball, and if you remember wasn't there? I can't remember if it was a Hispanic team or a Latino team.
Yeah, there's a Latin league that still plays. The baseball league started in 1948, and if you can imagine, by the time they hit 1973, a lot of the players had gotten older. The league got smaller. Two people, husband and wife, Velasquez, had decided to start softball, and I wish I could sit and talk with them for hours. They both passed, beautiful people, from what I remember as a kid. So they started softball leagues for the men and women. They had stops and starts along the way. It still continues today at Benjamin Davis Park. In fact, this year they just restarted a women's league. So it's outside of Detroit, I think we have the only Latin leagues in the state, and they're used to be all over the place.
Yeah, I was going to say nice, but the fact that they're not all over the place now isn't nice.
Yeah. I mean, we grew. I mean, we should be out there playing, but most people think baseball and softball is a boring sport. So
yeah. I always had fun. I went to those games. I don't remember you as a bat boy, but you must know Max Lopez then.
Yep, Max. In fact, tiny tidbit. Max was Max and my dad coached the same baseball team, Los Bravos, together. They oddly, I won't share addresses, but we shared the same exact address, which when I was a little kid, I thought was so cool, 1218. Mine was 1218 West Jolly, so I won't share theirs, but theirs was 1218.
I know what theirs is.
Yeah, you do.
I spent way too many nights there.
Yep. So, we were little bat boys out there, and I thought it was the coolest thing, but yeah, I miss those days. I really do.
I haven't played softball in 30 some years, probably.
Yeah, no, I haven't played either. It's funny you say that. It makes me think of, I was an avid, from the time that I was 5, my dad worked at GM, so he would bring home, he had some deal. He would get to bring home the Detroit Free Press, Detroit News every day. And of course we got the Lansing State Journal. I read that cover to cover every day. And believe me, I'm introvert. I still call myself a very boring individual. I just am. People probably think I'm out there partying or whatever, having fun. I'm kind of boring, but I read cover to cover, and that kind of helped fuel my interest, and it's aided me because I can do the research, and I love sitting back reading what other communities do. Think people, here's a tidbit for some people who kind of look at me and say, how does that guy do that? And again, I'm not all that, but where are the pretty big populations at for Hispanic Latinos? Well, Los Angeles. So LA Times. Wow. I've picked off so many ideas from that community out there. I've called out there. I think I have a Instagram friend I touch base with every once in a great while. She was in a movie. I won't say her name, but I reach out. I just call. What can it hurt? They can hang up. That's right. That's kind of where I get the ideas from and stuff. Texas, San Antonio. The medals came from San Antonio, so I'm not shy about sharing anything.
Yeah. So we talked about our local community a little bit. on the broader picture, like on the national side, with Trump coming in and being so, I'm just going to say racist about everything coming south towards our border, or everybody, I should say. What did you have any involvement in anything there? Anything like, anti-ICE things or,
You
you
know,
know,
I took, well, my involvement was I took a lot, I took some criticism, and I give my friends, we have a lot of Latino nonprofits or Latino organizations in the community. There's a bunch of them. I've remained good friends with 90% of them, I think. I'd like to believe anyway. Very good people. I'm a big believer. I stay in my lane.
mhm.
And for me, I know my role. My role is to create the platform because I think I'm pretty good at it. Um, that being said, I stayed in my lane, and of course, I got kind of bashed in private messages saying you should be out here protesting. You should be out. So I kind of stayed away from that because I also know that politics has become whatever you want to call it, whatever you think of it. We know that it's become that, but it. I know that I can still reach more people with the way that I do things, and I don't have to worry about that answering those questions, which side you're on. Because to me, we're all on the same side. We're just trying to survive.
Yeah.
So I kind of stayed out of it. I have my own personal opinions. Sorry, I just didn't see that guy's point of
Yeah.
view. You
Well,
know,
I think that doing our work local and taking care of our communities here, if we can continue, if every community did that, we would be so much stronger where that stuff it wouldn't exist or it wouldn't be relevant if it did exist. Um,
well,
so
here's a thought. Sorry, I had to clear my throat. Here's a thought. When I was out working for Leap, um, I'll tell you. In fact, we did our networking night Tuesday, and I shared this with them. Was that we talk about systemic racism. We talk about we're a diverse community, and you know Bob Treeseye's over there, Tony Willis, Dylan, and there's so many. Those guys, they hit it right in the head. They're like, you know what? We didn't do this right with previous grants. Let's get it right this time. Bob called me up. He apologized. I'd never met the guy.
mhm.
Um, I ran into that head on, trying to explain to people, that yes, you do qualify, and yes, Daniel over at Handy's.
Yeah,
Daniel's awesome. Chips and salsa, best chips and salsa in the country. But Daniel put it best. Daniel said, saying even if they give me the check, I'm going to stick it in the bank for 4 months, not touching it, simply because I'm expecting them to come back and ask me for the check back. I ran into that, and
yeah,
and that's only because of all the years of being slighted,
yep,
held back, pushed back, put down, etc. I mean, wow, basically
yeah,
blinked. I can't say it enough. And I went home. Boy, did I sleep at night. I was emotionally drained almost and again, I'm not trying to make myself up to be a martyr, but I can't believe what some of these people went through. And
yeah.
again, I go back to I did the right thing.
You you woke Tony Willis up.
Oh, hey.
Zane does an amazing job highlighting Hispanic, Latinx businesses within the community. Keep up the great work. And I agree with that. I've been trying to say that the whole time with even the people that come to me that say you sent them or you mentioned stuff. But I want to dig into what you just said a little bit. This historical feeling that when somebody gives you something and then they take it away, right? Like it's too good to be true almost would be one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is I just don't trust these systems, these institutions, these whatever, and how paralyzing that can be to even get started to write a grant. And so the work that that you're doing, that people like One Love Global does in the Black community or the Black and brown and poor communities, this is real fears. These aren't things like people just need to get over it. These are things that make your heart race, that block your brain, that make you not be able to sleep at night. And they're real. I mean, it's trauma. It's years, it's centuries of trauma. And I think the work that you're doing there, in that, no, you are going to be eligible for this. This is real. I think that is such important healing work that we need more of you. We need more Zanes.
There might be a couple of people who disagree with you, but here's one one thought. I tell my closest friends. In fact, I tell anybody. I often wonder what people think of me, and it's not so much because I care. I mean, I do care, but
Mm-hmm.
I question. I mean, when somebody unfriends me, we all know that now. 10 years ago, we didn't know what it meant to be unfriended. Somebody unfriends me, it's kind of like, wow, and especially if I see them they're trying, I don't want to say moving up, they're trying to build something. Yeah, that's the best way to say it. I think, especially within the Latino community, I think to myself, wow, if I were them, I wouldn't have unfriended that same guy. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you don't know. I mean, I don't mind helping. I don't mind sharing advice. I, I did say I have like 40 ideas. I mean, that's a true story. I've only got 6 or 7 of them in place. We have some other stuff we're coming out. Feldman Chevrolet has been an awesome sponsor of Cafecito, of Lansing. So those Joseph Rodriguez over there, he put his faith in me earlier this year. So we've been able to do some things, and we still have some projects coming out. But I'll tell you, I've often wondered. I mean, it's like, should I call that thing? Will he share with me? I had somebody bring up last week about, do you believe in a non-compete agreement? Do you know what that is? No compete? Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I know exactly what that is. Well, we'll have to sit down and talk. And I know what she was getting at, but sorry, I'm not. As well as I do, Jerry. Ideas are a dime a dozen. It's about executing, getting.
That's right. I'll invest in a team that's a great team and not a so great idea over a great idea with a horrible team.
Right. Well, you know what? Here's a wisdom. I pulled this from somebody. It wasn't me. Whether you go to work or you're running your business, before you enter that, giving you the visual, that door, it's kind of like some people attack it by saying, boy, I can't wait to go and accomplish wonderful, great things, whatever it may be. And the outlook you should have is, who do I need to be able to accomplish those things? Who can I put on my team that'll help me accomplish that for the community? And, that's just, think fast. I always draw back to movies. Fast and Furious, that first one came out, or to exaggerate it, we got this job to do. So we need somebody who knows electronics. We need somebody who can drive fast. You find those role players. I think I'm a great second in charge. I've never meant to be in charge. I always like to say, people look at me as a leader. I just happen to be in front a lot. That's all.
Well, sometimes leaders can't help it. They don't want to be, they don't know it, but people turn to them. And I think you're suffering from that, if you can call it suffering. So what's something that you do every damn day to push your mission forward?
I have some music on YouTube. Well, it's from there, but anyway, I have some music that I have set aside on a separate account on Spotify or whatever. But it's a playlist. I created the playlist probably in early 2016. I just come off a very serious concussion. Me and Ron have the same family doctor, Kaz. He called it. He's an older guy, 70 years old. I don't know, 65. I don't mean to insult him, but he called it the second worst concussion he had ever seen. And I came out of that in pretty bad shape, I suppose. But so I created this list. So I play that music, and it reminds me of who I am, what I am, and kind of where I've been. That sometimes the past tries to drag you back, and but at the same time, it gives you the idea that you could push forward. So I guess I use music, and I'm not a big music person per se. I mean, don't ask me what's popular today. I'm still listening to the 70s and 80s. So, but it's all Christian music that I choose in that playlist. But yeah, I do that.
Yeah.
You know, one of my favorite hobbies,
What?
watching video clips. I'm a big movie fan, but yet don't ask me. I didn't see E.T. I didn't see. Gosh, name a movie, a classic.
Ah,
I still
I thought I was the last person our age that hadn't seen ET. I've
oh,
been
man.
like I want to be the oldest person in the world that's never seen ET. But now I don't want to be.
Oh man, I'll tell you, I watch video clips of movies. So if you go on YouTube, you can find The Godfather. You
Mhm.
can find, and I'll just run through it. Yep, I feel satisfied. I'm happy. I've watched the movie. Sometimes I'll go through Wikipedia, read that. So I'll read, but that kind of keeps me going too.
So
Sometimes
are you a TikToker?
no,
No.
no, Snapchat and all those. To me, I've
Don't
just got to Facebook, and I have an Instagram account, but
don't do TikTok. It's addictive. I sit
no,
there
I
watching
did.
it all day long.
5 hours later, yes, I've heard. Oh my!
Yeah.
Wow.
So we daisy chain the shows together. And yesterday on the show, I had my daughter and basically told her story and her moving out to Los Angeles. And she has a question for me to pass to you. And her question is, what's your favorite swear word?
I had to laugh at this.
I thought it was a kind of evil to put you on the spot there, but
Oh boy,
uh,
I hope I know a lot of the church pastors, especially yeah, I know a lot of the pastors. So I believe me, well, I mean that in a good way, but so many years ago, once upon a time, yes, I probably did cuss in high school, whatever. I actually had a girlfriend at that time who used the word sugar. So anytime she wanted to cuss, she'd say sugar. Okay, fine. I probably read it somewhere and used the word blank.
yeah,
So
I noticed you did that earlier in the
yeah,
show.
yeah, I'm known to do that. So I'll insert blank. Wow, I can't believe that that happened. Oh my gosh, it's blank. And some people get it, some people don't. But if there was a word, and I sometimes I do it for effect, it would be it was just funny because that's the name of the show is damn. It's like so I use that like in text messages or whatever. I'm like, damn, gosh, it's kind of like.
Hmm.
So I do it more for effect than anything, but yeah, I do release that word occasionally. I mean, that's probably the only one that I ever used in the last 10, 15 years. It's kind
Yeah.
of like TV. I haven't watched TV since 2005, I guess, unless it's with my parents watching Bonanza or something. But I just haven't done these things in years.
Yeah. I we had to have a lot of discussion about whether we should call the show this and if it was going to offend anybody or turn them off from watching it. And we finally just went with it because we have a solid reason. It goes way back for us, the name of the show, Every Damn Day. And, but we were concerned. And then we'd have some kids on the show or we'd have a pastor on the show and we would change the name of the show to Every Dang Day.
Oh,
On those opportunities or whenever that came up. But why do you think it's so, and I'm asking this because I think I'm going to know your answer. Why is it important to say blank? Why is it important not to swear all the time to you?
it's funny because I won't admit that I thought of this in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I've used that word for years. Obviously, I don't want to offend people. My first, I wanted to get more involved in the community. Had the wife, kids were growing, got involved in the community. I show up to my first event. Turned out it was for high school counselors. So if you can imagine, they all had college degrees. 75 people in the room. I was the only one who didn't have a college degree. I have a diploma. Good friend of mine, dear friend of mine, childhood friend, Eddie. Eddie is trying. He's about to introduce me. He didn't see me. Then he sees me at the last second. Tries to introduce me. if you can imagine the attire, everybody was professional. This was held at LCC West Campus, and Eddie looks at me, and his eyes went straight down, looked up, and he realized I was wearing blue jeans. And I thought, oh wow, I should have dressed up. So, appearance is a lot, so I try to play the role and be professional, and I always encourage people. But later on, years later, I realized it was kind of a teaching tool, because when I say the word blank, not so much that I get offended. I mentioned it to you earlier, pre-game, I guess. Nobody can offend me. Trust me, nobody's brutal with me, I guess, but I don't get offended. You have to understand where people come from as to why, and maybe they have their reasons. So I think it's a teaching tool, because maybe sometimes people should learn. Maybe you need to be careful when you're doing that. Now, when I came out of the pandemic with white hair, people were shocked. I dyed my hair for years. Nice little box takes care of that thing. But I figure, now I look older. I'll play the role, wisdom, and I'm wise at work. I hope that they, it's part of that. I don't want to say image, but part of that. This is how you do things in the community. I didn't know it, and I got to admit, my dad is just very laid back. He tells it like it is. He does. I guess I didn't pay attention. He presents a professional appearance, but not one that most people think. He's very careful, very respectful, and I guess I just try to do that. I try to do the same.
Yeah. I think if it goes back to my shirt, bigger brain, better world, that means the more people involved with different views of looking at things, the bigger the collective brain is. And if you want that brain to be bigger, then don't turn people off, right? Don't offend them, and don't push them away. Because really, I think our communities all across the world, we spend a lot of time punching at each other and punching down, and we're never punching up at the right places, and we bicker and we fight about the scraps of dirt, like you said earlier. And we just got to stop that. Sometimes we're arguing and fighting with exactly the wrong people. We should be arguing and fighting. We should just be getting stuff done.
Oh yeah, every meeting's an opportunity. You don't know. I made during LEAP. I made a phone call on a whim. I seen the name a year ago. They applied for a grant. It was a home health care place, and wrote them down. I think I added them to my business directory on the website. And this year I thought I'd follow up. Hey, just my name's Sein Benavides, calling on behalf of LEAP. And they said, no, thank you for the call. We appreciate it. Sure enough, they were taken care of. An hour later, Sein, we'd like to set up a meeting. So he'd like to call you back. Can we set that up for tomorrow at 1:00? Sure. He calls me up. Next thing you knew, and sure enough, I learned this from an old friend, Paulo Gordillo, was you don't sit down and talk business right away. Sometimes I'm guilty of that, but you find out about the family, and sure enough, I asked him, hey, I haven't seen your name around. Are you from here? Come to find out, we're from. My parents and his family are from the same part of Texas, and he's very familiar. In fact, he's been down to Benavides, Texas. There's a city named after us, I guess. But we made that connection, and then probably 20 minutes later, he finally asked me the question he wanted to ask about the grant. He had questions on the grant, and you never know. And I'm not expecting anything, and that's the biggest thing. Never expect anything in return. I don't. I'm good with that. I love the connection. He's working on a project. I won't share that, but this guy is looking home health care. Everybody got kicked out of the hospitals during COVID. Guess what he's focusing on? So and now I can count him as a connection, as a colleague, maybe a friend. So every meeting's an opportunity.
That's I love that you use the word friend, because we try so hard to separate work and home and friends and family and all of that. And I actually think that's the wrong way to look at it.
Yep.
We should all be friends, and we should be, our handshakes and our promises should mean something. We should have, everything we do is through other people, no matter who you are. Just some people act like it's not, like they're the only one. But I love your vibe. Let me just say it that way.
Thank you.
So tomorrow on the show, I have Dara, and she is doing something called, I gotta read it again, Love Gainers. And I don't know anything about what she does yet, so I'm gonna get to know her a little bit more tomorrow. What question would you like me to pass to her?
Um, the I love the movie Jerry Maguire. Now, is it my favorite movie? Probably not. I have one from the 1930s, Keys to the Kingdom, about a priest in China. But uh, I was inspired by Jerry Maguire. Just more. You need to. I kid you not. I've watched sponsors be recognized at an event that they paid big money to, and sure enough, they're like, the MC or whatever, like to give a shout out, and then they walk away and it's nothing. So to me, that was important, the lessons learned in Jerry Maguire. So I guess my question would be this: what what movie can you point to? Again, not your favorite. Maybe it is your favorite movie, but not necessarily. What movie inspires you? What and why? Why does it inspire you? I mean, like I said, in my case, it's not my favorite movie, but it's one that I look to. I go back through those film clips on YouTube, like I said, every now and then, just when I need a little boost there every now and then. It's important.
I love that question because it's not, we've had kind of what's your favorite movie or your top three movies or whatever, but this one where you're asking why and not necessarily your favorite one, but what inspired you. I love that question, and I usually ask you the question, but you preempted me and answered it already. So thanks for that. Or unless you want to change your answer or want to expound on that.
Yep.
David Lopez Sr., you might know him too. I think that's Max's brother. Says Rudy's his favorite movie.
I've watched that a couple times.
Yeah, I've watched that about 2,000 times. I think when I wrestled for U of M, and we just rolled that movie on our TV constantly. Happiness, sadness, joy, hope, or love. Which word would you like to talk about?
This 2 hours? Happy. If you're ever around me, you'll hear me. Yeah, I have a story for you. I always have stories. Happiness, but I have to admit, a lot of the things I do don't make sense. I mean, I think we're all like that, right? We all have our quirks, and things are like the mirror says, the side mirror, it's closer than it appears, or something like that. Happiness, but it's kind of a strange journey towards that, or to get there. I suffered a pretty bad concussion. In fact, I mentioned it in 2015. If you can imagine, what do you call them? I can't even think of it. It's an entryway to our post office. It's got like a turnstile. It's a turnstile. These are hard turnstiles, right? Well, the one over there at my post office backfired and hit me in the head. I was out of commission for about 6 months. I don't really remember a whole lot during those 6 months. In fact, once I found out that my doctor, Kaz, put me off for I don't know what he put me on. My daughter kind of stepped in a little bit. So once I found out, I remember being in front of my website, completely blew it up. I don't know what I did. I had to recreate it after. I was a mess. Depression set in. When I finally came out of it 6 months later, I had no clue what was going on. I had no clue where I was. I didn't get treatment. In fact, this probably helps the narrative is I was hit September 30th. I didn't get treatment until first week of February. And then I got a counselor, a therapist, and her first question, or for her first introduction, was saying, we're going to get you back to where you want to be. And by that time, I had already talked to a couple people. I ran into folks. I couldn't remember their name. In fact, classic one, ran into there was a guy I recognized, couldn't remember his name. I remembered his mom. His mom had been ill. And again, I was gone for 6 months. Walked up to him. Hey, Hey, how's it going? Hey, how's your mom? And he looks at me and he goes, Saint, she passed away a couple months ago. And I couldn't say a word. I don't even remember what I said. I was almost in tears. Um, it, it hit me. I was like, gosh, I'm not the same person at all. And there's a Christian song called "Insane" by Country or something. I can't remember. But if you look up the lyrics to "Insane," it described me a lot during that time. And I lost the confidence. Think back to the Rocky movie, Adrian and Rocky on the beach. It just came to me. Rocky's like, you know what? I'm not the same person. Once a fighter, loses all confidence in themselves, they're finished, they're done. I thought it was done. And I argued, I fought with my counselor, my therapist. Look, I don't have to go back. I don't want to go back. I don't have to do that. So she did her own reading on me, saying, I found out you did this and you do that. And, can you tell me a little bit more? So I shared some of the things I did. She goes, saying, we don't normally do this, but you have to go back. No, I'm not going back. I don't have to. I can live in my house or whatever. And I wanted nothing. I couldn't function. I fell down the stairs a few times. Depth perception is affected, apparently, or one of the things during a concussion or whatever. So finally, she even took me to the next step, and she said, saying at some point you're getting older, you're gonna take on the role of those people that you were trying to replace. I guess again that idea that meant those people that were always in charge don't pass the baton. And again, I thought that way. They didn't pass the baton. She's like saying, you've become one of them. You are a mentor. You're a leader. I'm like, I look, again, one, I don't have to go back there. Two, no, that's not me. I'm the worker. I'm the guy in the ground. I'm the grassroots, second in charge. She was saying, I'm sorry to tell you this, but you're pretty creative. You don't seem to recognize that. Because I'm not. I take every idea from other people, you know? So we fought for a while. And she, if I could see her for the rest of my life every week, I would. She was awesome. Mental health awareness is just not spoken enough about. We all go through it. I went through I mean, those of you folks at home, right? I'll tell you, if you think I'm the most confident person in the world, maybe you think I'm arrogant. I don't know, ego, but I'm not going to go to the point where no, I didn't want to live. I will say this: if she hadn't got me through that, I never would have. I wouldn't be here, because I would have stayed in my apartment in front of my laptop, probably creating things there online or whatever. Who knows? Reading, watching YouTube clips of movies. She got me through that. God, to me, first and foremost, he put her there for a reason. She was the perfect one. And to that point, you never know who's that one that's going to help change your life, impact your life, give you that one idea, that little push. I can go on and on, but leading to the happiness, I have fun with what I do. I mean, if she hadn't gotten me through that, I got a chance to look at what I do and how I can do things, and perhaps, yeah, maybe, I was always that guy in high school. I was a designated driver because I didn't drink back then either. Um, I'm enjoying. I love life. I love my job. I enjoy the people. I love most of the management team at my post office. Yeah, actually now, anyway, but I love the union. They've defended me. My union saved me many times. So I can't say enough. But sometimes, I mean, it's a cliche. Sometimes you have to go through the storm. Oh my gosh, I don't wish what I went through on anybody. I won't try to be so dramatic that I had it worse than anybody, because I know people have had it worse. I have a friend, Mitchell. In fact, just an odd connection, right? Michelle Fainer. When I met her, I heard about her, and I was running the youth program at Cristo Rey, and I heard about her father had passed away, and I think she had two couple parents that just weren't quite there, stepfathers. So I asked the kids, hey, can you bring her to the group? They brought her. From the moment she came up, she's crying her head off. Sein, I heard a lot about you, Sein. I'm so glad I'm here. Thank you for inviting me. And I'm trying to figure out, oh my gosh, what happened to this little girl, 16-year-old girl? So we became best of friends. She would in turn introduce me. I used to show up at Eastern High School. Yeah, I went to Eastern. I would show up at Eastern High School in blue jeans and a t-shirt when I was 24 years old. Security guards got, kind of caught wind of me, and they left me alone. I think they seen that I didn't do any harm. And I would go there just to, not to invite anybody, just to build relationships. Michelle introduced me to many of my friends today, Bobby Lira, Lala Lemus, Cynthia Bermudez, Alfonso Salais. Talk about an inspiring fellow. If she hadn't done that, again, I probably wouldn't be here. But again, it goes to that point. Every meeting's an opportunity. You just don't know what people can do for you, but you don't know how they impact how you can impact other people. And that's what she made clear to me. Saying you don't realize how you impact people. No. Well, it's not me, and that's where I think people like you and I have to, we have to be the face. You have to be out there. And much as I don't like being in front, okay, so I'll do it. I'll do it for a little while. That's me.
So, first of all, I'm glad that you are back and that you did come back, because I'm going to tell you something one of my other guests said. Sherry Pruitt, I don't know if you know who she is, but she lost a son to gun violence about 7 to 10 years ago, maybe 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Richard Pruitt, or as his friends called him, or everybody called him Slick. And she said after that happened, she realized that she was put here to stand in the gap. There's a gap between, maybe there's a shooter and a guy that would be the victim. We're here to stand in the gap. Maybe it's, a gap between LEAP or some of the programs that were in the past and the Latino community. But you are somebody, I think, that stands in the gap, and we need you more than ever to come and stand in the gap. So you're amazing. You can tell by the crowd's reaction so quickly and commenting about how you're impacting and affecting people. So thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your story, but thank you even more for all of the work that you're doing in the community, because our community needs to heal. It needs to eliminate systemic racism. It needs to be informed about trauma and how it affects people. And you being there to stand in that gap, I think, is extremely important. And you're one of my heroes. And I don't think we barely know each other, I guess, but I see your name all the time. I know that you're influential. I know that you're doing important work. And when you had signed up for the show, I was giddy. So thank you so very, very much.
I appreciate the comments, the kind words.
What would you like to take us out with?
Oh, wow. I actually forgot about this one. I think with everything we went through, we've went through a number of things in the past several years. Every generation thinks that they just had it bad. I think of one of my favorite movies is Michael Douglas, The American President. And he talks about sometimes, the way to win elections is you talk about a time in the past when things were better. And then you start, when you're trying to win the election, you start pointing at the reason you don't have it so good anymore because it's that person's fault or this person's fault. And you just start blaming people. That's how you win elections. So I've watched that movie, gosh, probably 25 times. So I've used it. There's a line in there, something about his daughter tells him, how do you, he's trying to date. And he's like, well, any advice? And he goes, her daughter says, compliment her on her shoes. So every now and then I'll hey, nice shoes, just pick off different things. But kind of around that is that we never know who we're going to influence, who we're going to impact. Instead of looking for people to blame, I always, when I meet somebody, I always try to find the characteristics that we have in common. I consider myself a very good listener. If I enter a conference or a new program or whatever, I'm the guy in the back watching, taking notes. I don't like to come out strong. I just don't. And I guess in my role that I guess I sometimes have to. Again, going back to some of the other leaders, I love them to death. I offer them no disrespect. They're good, great people. Oh my, I love the work they do, but they do it so much better than me. I know my role, but to answer your question, I think we need to start looking at the positive things. I mean, everybody's looking at the flaws. Man, what do you do? What's so great about you, and try to find out that answer. In fact, I'm going to post something up. I think I pulled it from the movie Fireproof, and I keep that stays in my head. I have that post kind of ready, and I just haven't actually, I've forgotten to put it out. But it talks about how that when you marry an individual, but I think this is true with relationships. So you learn the individual, and I'll use it with marriage as in that it's written. Again, I didn't write this, but when you're learning the person, you're trying to date somebody, you learn them as much as you can. And at some point, you're going to earn a high school diploma. So then when you marry them, then you continue that learning process. And at some point, you're going to get the associate's degree. So then you continue. It's a lifelong learning to the point you finally get that master's degree. And that's what we need to, instead of focusing on what went wrong, why did they do this? We need to focus on, man, they do some great work. There's something, so pull out that. When I do a lot of one-on-one meetings, and I sit with people and I try to find, okay, what is it that you do? What's important? And try to bring that out a little bit more. I met up with, or she attended the networking night. I know you know her, Kimberly Levon.
Yeah.
Fascinating talent. And you can kind of see it. She's hesitant, and she's maybe there's some self-confidence there or whatever, but or lack of, or whatever. She's not sure how it's going to go over. That lady is just amazingly talented. And I was telling her a couple ideas. A good friend of hers was there too, and I was telling her, this is what Kimberly needs to do. If I were her, and she's like, oh my gosh, I told her the same thing. Can you tell her? So hopefully, Kimberly, if you're watching, you'll execute on that, because I'm tell you what, I'll call you on it, Kimberly. Tell you now. Find the talent in everybody. That's what we need. If we do that, we've gotten a step farther with making this world a better place.
Well, I hope the show is helping, because that's exactly my theme, is that everybody has a story. Everybody's an expert in something. Yes. And if we can just find that, and everybody was born with a passion, that they could be doing work within that passion, but so many of us aren't allowed to, or able to, or don't think that we can. So thanks for being such an inspiration. You really are.
I appreciate the kind words, dear. Thank you for having me. This was cool. This was fun.
I had fun too. I had a lot of fun. Yeah. So, all right, everyone, tomorrow I'm going to be a little bit early. I think we're going to go live at noon, because I've got to catch a flight back from Los Angeles. So every damn day, usually at 2, we'll get back into the groove when I get back on Saturday. And Zane, thank you so very much for being on the show. All right, everyone, we will see you later, and stick with me for just a minute more. Okay. All right.